What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the open greatly with a 5x buff version of my signature team, with an Incinerate user in the lead plus double dragons in the back, with my favorite Pokemon, which some of you might be surprised to hear is actually not Salazzle, but instead Shadow Latios. Now Shadow Latios is a Pokemon that hasn't really had a chance to shine in most metas until this season, where it's now become an absolute monster in the closing position. Obviously with Dragon Breath getting reworked, it's now much faster to reach those higher energy charge moves, and it has one of the best moves in the game in Luster Purge, which at 60 energy hits for 120 damage and has a 50% chance to lower the opponent's defense, which is actually quite easy to forget about because every single time I believe I threw Luster Purge in this video, it KO'd the opposing Pokemon. But not only that, it now also has access to Aura Sphere, another 2 DPE charge move, which also gives it amazing coverage where only opposing Psychic type Pokemon, as well as a few weird dual type Pokemon like Sableye, can resist both charge moves, meaning this thing is guaranteed to deal big damage if all shields are down. Now Latias actually has the exact same situation, but with Mist Ball as its signature move. However, I just haven't used an Elite TM on it yet, so for now I am just running Outrage. Also, Latias does have a bit more bulk, whereas Latios is an insane glass cannon. Now obviously Salazzle also got buffed this season with Dragon Pulse costing less energy. However, in all honesty, this change really is not going to make any difference to how it plays, because unless you're getting to 4 Dragon Pulses in a row, you're actually not going to feel the impact of it costing less energy, because you need that 4th Dragon Pulse to actually require 1 less Incinerate to get to, which is just very unlikely with a glassy Pokemon like Salazzle. But anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Actually, before we get into that, I forgot to mention that like half of the battles were done in the Retro Cup because I figured dragons would be even stronger there, but I did actually end up swapping out Salazzle for Centiskorch, another buff fire type Pokemon this season, as historically Confusion users have been very strong in the Retro Cup, and of course Confusion got buffed this season, but I actually don't think I saw any in the Retro Cup. Do bear in mind these battles were done during the first night of the season, so of course very early on, a lot of metas don't really shape up properly until like a few days into it. But yeah, anyways, with that being said, let's finally get into the question of the day. What has been your favorite buff Pokemon to use so far this season? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battling Salazzle into Alolan Ninetales, a great lead matchup for us. The opponent's going to be safe swapping into Altaria. I do not have a direct response here, as unfortunately Altaria is going to do more damage than we're going to be able to deal to them with our Latias and Latios. So instead, I'm going to shield here, grab a shield with that Dragon Pulse, then swap into my Latias. At this point I recognize, unfortunately, Aura Sphere will not get the KO, so I might as well use my final shield. Their Switch Clock should be coming up very soon, so I'm going to hold on to the energy, wait for them to swap back into the Ninetales, and you're going to see Aura Sphere is going to do about 50% of their HP, meaning this second Aura Sphere should be grabbing that final shield, and it does exactly that. At this point, of course, because Charm is now going to generate energy slightly faster, unfortunately they will reach a charge move before I can fully farm them down. However, this is just a resisted Weather Ball. I'm able to tank it, not super comfortably, but I do tank it nonetheless. We're going to wait to see they come in with Azumarill, and this not really ideal for me. We're going to go straight for Poison Fang. I'm swapping into Latios, but the opponent makes a huge mistake there. They clear the debuff, but as a result, that allows me to outpace them to the Luster Purge, and we don't need their defense debuff, as Luster Purge gets the one-shot up against Azumarill, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle. You can see Salazzle into Lantern, so this is definitely not ideal for me. I'm going to be safe swapping into my Latias straight away, and the opponent is not swapping out immediately here, so I'm just going to hold on to the energy, waiting for the opponent to eventually try and make a catch or something like that, and they do swap into a Dusclops. We're able to land the Outrage, unfortunately, not running Mist Ball, which would have probably put them into range where I could just Dragon Breath farm them down, but I grab a shield with an Aura Sphere, and the opponent underestimating just how quickly we get to those charge moves. 2 double resisted Aura Spheres, grabs both shields from the opponent, and we've put them into range where I can just Incinerate farm them down. Of course, going to come in with Salazzle. I'm going to no shield this. The opponent is actually going to go for an Ice Punch there, maybe thinking something else was going to come in there, but either way, I'm happy with that. That is resisted damage, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Diggersby. So at this point, We are looking very good right now. We can go straight for Aura Sphere. Diggersby, very bulky Pokemon. That does so much damage. That puts them into Dragon Breath farm down range. I shield the first move. They bait with a Fire Punch, but that means this is only going to be another Fire Punch, which is resisted damage. Fire Punch gets us fairly low, but it doesn't really matter. Once again, a very bulky Water-type Pokemon is going to feel the wrath of the Luster Purge. We get that one shot once again, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle. You can see a Steelix in the lead, so a good lead matchup for that Salazzle. The opponent is going to choose to stay in initially, fire off the charge move after 5 Dragon Tails, so this is not very good timing. We get a full Incinerate in for free, but unfortunately they snipe with Gastrodon, and 2 Mud Slaps does monumental damage up against our Salazzle. That is the tricky thing about Salazzle in the lead. If you get stuck in that Incinerate animation and they swap into a Mud Slapper, you're basically losing all of your HP. So here we come in with the Latias, and because we bait, we actually reach back-to-back Aura Spheres. The second one, gonna grab the final shield, and we have put them into range where Dragon Pulse will get the KO. So, of course, gonna come back in with Salazzle, go straight for Dragon Pulse there. Dragon Pulse will be enough damage to get the KO. We're gonna swap out straight away. We swap into our Latios. They come in with a Shadow Dragonite, unfortunately dealing more damage than we're dealing to them. I have to go for Aura Sphere straight away, and now my only hope is that I can live 2 more Dragon Tails and reach the Dragon Pulse here, but unfortunately, Salazzle not able to do so. We don't get damage registration error either, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there, into the next battle. Going to see a Togekiss in the lead. The opponent is likely going to go straight for a Side Shot here, but they throw once again on very bad timing, allowing me to get a full Incinerate in for free. And this time they snipe bot with a Fire type, so much better for me. I'm going straight for Poison Fang. This will now allow me to fully Dragon Breath farm them down here. I'm going to no shield this. Regardless of what they throw, they can't one-shot me. So I'm actually going to not attack here. Wait for them to throw another charge move, as I realize, of course, Togekiss will be coming back in. I don't want to give them loads of extra farm here, so I can just barely reach an Outrage, and whilst yes, I'm not running Mist Ball, the opponent doesn't know that, so they end up using their final shield, or sorry, their first shield. We're now going to come back in with Salazzle. I will wait one turn just to see if they're going to swap out there. They don't, they go for that peck, so of course we go for Poison Fang. Once again, we get the KO there. Their final Pokemon gonna be a Shadow Empoleon, and I'm able to reach an Aura Sphere straight away. Aura Sphere not respected by the Empoleon. The opponent probably just forgetting about that move update, and as a result, I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there, into the next battle. We can see a Shadow Murkrow in the lead, which is really cool to see. The opponent's going to say swap into Corsola, and unfortunately, my whole team here is going to struggle. My Salazzle is already very low, and I've got 2 Pokemon that are going to struggle up against both the Murkrow and this Corsola. So at this point, I'm going to shield up the Power Gem, which is an interesting play by the opponent. I'm now going to full send a Luster Purge. Surely they just let this move go through here. But no, they're going to double shield the Corsola, and we are in a lot of trouble right now. So at this point, I realize they have a move banked on the Murkrow. What I predict is the opponent will throw a charge move here and then look to snipe with the Murkrow. So I'm going to swap out straight away now into Salazzle, and I'm able to predict that perfectly. The opponent is going to throw straight away. Foul play, going to get the KO. And here, maybe I should have committed to a full Dragon Breath farm down. Potentially, they do reach a last second charge move, but I think that was my only win condition, because now, unfortunately, forced to throw energy there. They will outpace me to the next charge move. And of course, from this range, Nightshade gets the KO up against Shadow Latias, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG's up on there, into the next battle. We're going to see a Salazzle into Magcargo. We're swapping straight away into Shadow Latias. The opponent is going to choose to stay in. I play it quite risky here. I throw on CMP, but the opponent does throw straight away, and actually they don't respect the damage there. Once again, probably just forgetting about this move update. There's quite a lot of move updates that maybe people will forget about, so unfortunately for them, that is not ideal for them, as now we go for another Aura Sphere, and we can go for yet another Aura Sphere up against the Blastoise. Aura Sphere going to grab the final shield from the opponent. They are over farming massively. They will fire off the charge move now. Hydro Cannon, resisted damage from that range, does get the KO. I mean, I guess it kind of made sense to overfarm that much, because if they threw earlier, Hydro Cannon wouldn't have taken us out. They then full sent a Skull Bash. I'm now going to overfarm here, fire off the Aura Sphere from this range. Despite boosting up the defense, it takes them out there. And then final Pokemon, a Shadow Empoleon. We can once again go for yet another Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to open there into the next battle. You can see Salazzle into Azumarill. So, a bit of an awkward matchup for me just because I can't safe swap into my Latias because I don't have Mist Ball. I've only got resisted moves to throw. And if I stay in with Salazzle, whilst yes, of course, I'm going to hit for super effective damage with the Poison Fangs, the Bubbles are hitting for super effective here, and then they'll have a lot of energy to throw into my backline. So, at this point, since they shielded the first move, then let the next one go through, I'm actually going to fully sacrifice my Latias here as I recognize they will reach back-to-back charge moves, but I'm hoping that with that debuff, I can come in with the Latios and Dragon Breath, farm them down just before they do reach the next charge move. We've got shield advantage here. I'm hoping we can go for the farm down. It's going to be very close here. But Latios, no, just barely not able to get that full farm down. So I'm forced to use a shield here, but that's okay. We still got a ton of energy. They come in with your Nova and Stunfisk, and I'm full sending the Luster Purge. Luster Purge is going to be shielded by the opponent, unfortunately, and we do not drop the defense. But I'm going to shield this next charge move here as they fire off a discharge, and now I could throw another Luster Purge, but instead I'm going to swap into Salazzle, catch the charge move, continue to overfarm here. I will eventually put them into Aura Sphere range. We farm up to 100 energy, we fire off the Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere doesn't quite get the KO, but we get the Dragon Breath farm down, and they've got Corviknight in the back, so I'm going straight for Aura Sphere. But after seeing the damage we deal here, I was thinking, should I go for Luster Purge? And I hesitated too much there. What I realized after the game, Luster Purge is actually going to do more damage than a neutral Aura Sphere, and it does just over 50% of HP to a Corviknight, so I could have won that game if I just threw, but because I hesitated, unfortunately, I do end up getting outpaced, and I end up losing there. But GG's to that trainer. Also, by the way, I did these battles like just barely after midnight, so it was quite late. I definitely should be battling during the day now, but just because it was a new season, I was very excited to play. I carried on battling through the night. But anyways, here we are now in the Retro Cup, and I am running Center Scorch in the lead. Unfortunately, a bit of an awkward matchup for us up against a Skeledirge, but we do grab that shield advantage, actually grabbing both shields. The opponent can now, however, fully farm me down, and they've got a ton of loaded energy. So at this point, we're going to come in with the Latios. They've actually got back-to-back charge moves loaded, so I'm going to shield the first one. I will not be able to farm them down, so instead, we now swap into our Center Scorch, as the opponent is going to go ahead and fire off that Disarming Voice. That doesn't get the KO there, so unfortunately, they snipe with a Clodsire, which is certainly not ideal, but they do not reach the charge move, and we get to the Luster Purge. Luster Purge gets the one shot there, and their final Pokemon is a Chestnut. Can I live a superpower here? This is resisted damage. It's actually the Thunder Punch, which we tank a lot more comfortably, and as a result, we reach a second Luster Purge. Shadow Latios coming in clutch in the end game, getting the Dragon Breath farm down up against the Skeledirge, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You can see Surfetch in the lead. So, the opponent is going to swap out straight away into a Water Gun Blastoise, which is quite interesting. We are going to go straight for an Outrage here. Aura Sphere would not get the KO from this range. Outrage probably would, but the opponent is going to shield. Looks like they're lagging. I'm actually not sure if they were. They're kind of hard to tell. But either way, they fire off a bait with a Hydro Cannon. Are now over farm, and we actually end up throwing on exactly CMP there, which is quite impressive considering I don't know if they got any fast moves through when it looked like they were lagging there. But either way, Hydro Cannon gets the KO. We've now got all shields down. We come in, we Dragon Breath farm them down with the Shadow Latios, and they come in with a Toxicroak, and you know what? We've got the opportunity to no bubble, one-shot a Pokemon from pretty much full health there. That is insane. And now we can just go for an Aura Sphere. Of course, Aura Sphere still giving me enough damage to take out the Surfetched, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on that. Into the next battle, we see Altaria in the lead. So, this is going to be problematic for me. I did recognize that there were quite a few teams, actually, in the Retro Cup that were just triple Dragon Breath, which, of course, we're running something very similar. However, basically, Center Scorch just has no play into those teams. We are now going to swap into the Latias, and we are going to put them into range where Aura Sphere will get the KO. So, we'll go for Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere does get the knockout there, but they come in with another Dragon Breath user in Regidrago. So, this point, we're going to fire off another Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere is going to grab the first shield from the opponent. And at this point, I kind of have to just fully sacrifice my Center Scorch. I have to hope that they go for a Breaking Swipe, but very unlikely, as the opponent can just full send a Dragon Energy, getting the one shot there. We can come in with the Shadow Latios, and they do reach another charge sweep already. Once again, they full send the Dragon Energy. They get us very low, and their final Pokemon is actually not another Dragon type. It's going to be Talonflame. Oh, what the hell happened there? But we full send the Luster Purge. We get the one shot as they do not respect the damage, expecting a bait, and I'm able to take that game. Right, I definitely need to drink some water. But into the next battle, another Dragon Breath user, and unfortunately, I think this is going to be a triple Dragon Breath team, so not a lot we can do here, especially since they've got 2 Dragon Breath users with Aqua Tail, which is going to completely destroy my Center Scorch. I actually don't really know what my play is here. I'm going to come in with the Center Scorch, and I'm actually going to be forced to double shield here because I realize if I don't shield my Center Scorch, I'm not really going to have any opportunities to use shields in this match. So we're now going to overfarm just slightly, fire off the Crunch here. Crunch, of course, will get the KO. They're going to come back in with their Shadow Palkia. I'm hoping I can just fully Dragon Breath farm them down with Latios. And once again, I've got to hope that the opponent does not have another Dragon type in the back. We get that Dragon Breath farm down, but it is another dragon. It's going to be Dragonair. I might as well full send a Luster Purge. It worked last time around, but unfortunately they do just shield this time. They respect the damage, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But into the next battle, we see a Shadow Piloswine in the lead. They say swap into a Shadow Giratina. So I'm going to stay in initially, fire off a Crunch. Crunch is going to deal super effective damage. We can debuff their defense as well. And at this point, I'm going to shield this. The opponent does full send a Dragon Claw there. I don't know how much damage that would do to us, but either way, I do respect the damage here. And I should be able to reach 2 Aura Spheres before the opponent fully farms me down. So the first one grabs the shield here. This should be grabbing a shield as well, but the opponent can go for a very nice Powder Snow farm down, coming out with a ton of loaded energy. Now, if the opponent is running high horsepower, that probably nearly one-shots us, but the opponent goes for a Bulldoze there, which is fine with me. They come in with the Regidrago. I'm able to reach an Aura Sphere on the CMP tile here, winning CMP, and Aura Sphere also puts them into 1 Ember farm down range, which is literally perfect for me. Breaking Swipe gets the KO. We can Ember farm them down, and now we can go straight for a lunge. Of course, from this range, lunge will be enough damage to take out the Shadow Piloswine, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into the final battle, I believe, of this video, leading into a Pidgeot. Of course, not ideal. Going to be safe swapping into my Latias, and they don't throw straight away. So here, I tried to throw on CMP. Unfortunately, well, the opponent does not throw straight away there, so of course we throw on alignment, and we do the exact same thing again here. I was just expecting the opponent to throw some energy, so we basically give them 2 gusts in for free, which is not ideal, but of course, we're going to come in with our Shadow Latios. The opponent is going to fire off an Aerial Ace, and of course, Aerial Ace costs more energy this season, so they're not very spammy anymore, so maybe I should have thought about that before I threw, but either way, that allows a full farm down for my Shadow Latios. They come in with a Surf Fetch. I do not need to full send a Luster Purge. We can settle for the Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Como-O. We can go for the Luster Purge this time around. Luster Purge, easy one-shot, and despite the very poor play in the matchup up against Pidgeot, I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.